Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! Context. So, I was having a meeting during my volunteering with other leaders, planning for this year's 3-day camping trip. As we were going over this story that we all tried to forget was brought up. The camping ground is a ranch-themed place with a bunch of activities, and we always see young groups from other places camping there as well. I have made several posts from my volunteering dealing with the entitled parents, which can be found here and there. This story is about our super special awesome autistic kid from the second story. The story. So as much as the autistic kid is an awesome guy, he is allergic to peanuts. His mother handed us the epinephrine injection to suppress the reaction till the emergency folks can arrive, and always made sure to have someone she can trust to carry it, aka me or the head leader girl. Since the only people that are going were the leaders and volunteers, the kids and a few adult staffs. We always went to the same camping place mentioned in the context, and this happened last year, when it was my third time going there. Based on previous pleasant experiences, I thought nothing could go wrong. Sweet, innocent me. Day 1. Nothing particular happens. We and the parties from a different group are having dinner in the same room. Before the head counselor said grace for the dinner, he was reminded of a simple rule: no nuts allowed. The kitchen and the dining hall themselves were not free, but he still said that in case anyone was trying to bring in their own nut products into the dining hall. No biggie, right? Day 2. Everything is going fine and it's breakfast. For some reason I forgot to bring the epinephrine from the cabin. Everyone is once again gathered in the dining area, and I had the autistic kid sit with other volunteers. As I was making my way back with a coffee mug in my hand, I saw the entitled schmuck. He was around 8 or 9 from another group holding one of those bags of roasted peanuts, with the entitled mutant, maybe in her late 30s, sitting beside. They were sitting what I thought was a safe distance, but I didn't want to risk it. I decided to nicely ask them to not eat the peanuts here. Hi, my name is Opie. I'm from X organization. How are you guys doing today?
Oh, we are doing fine. The weather looks nice for boat rides.
Yes, quite. Listen, I just wanted to let you know we have someone from our group who is allergic to peanuts. It would do us a huge favor if you guys can have the peanuts somewhere else. She rolls her eyes and her attitude changes.
I had to sit through that god-awful speech about no nuts yesterday.
It was less than 5 minutes, by the way.
Are you really going to tell us what my angel can and can't eat?
Yes. Then her brat says,
Yes, I want to eat these peanuts.
I understand that, but may I please ask you to eat those peanuts outside or at your cabin? The allergic person can become very sick here.
Fine, whatever.
They put away the peanuts and I think that's the end of it. Around 10 minutes into the breakfast, and the autistic kid starts to cough real bad. I thought he was choking on food or something went down the wrong way, so I began to tap on his back. Shortly afterward, his face began to swell and he was now having a full asthma attack. I started to scream for help and the head leader girl ran off to get the epinephrine. I figured it was somehow because of peanuts. I knew he was allergic to them, but I failed to see how deadly the autistic kid was allergic to them. I was trying to figure out who or where was the source of peanuts, and I saw them. The entitled schmuck watching the whole thing go down while casually eating his peanuts, while the entitled mutant was too busy pigging out on the scrambled eggs and hash browns. In my state of panic, I ran over to the entitled kid and snatched the bag of peanuts from him.
What the heck?
I asked you to eat those peanuts somewhere else. The entitled mother finally lifted her hand from her plate.
Why are you shouting at my baby?
Ma'am, I asked the two of you to eat the peanuts somewhere else, and now that guy over there is having an allergic reaction.
Well, I thought you were just joking around, so I paid no attention.
Why would anyone joke about someone being deadly allergic to peanuts?
Can you not see him having an asthma attack? My child has a right to eat peanuts whenever and wherever he wants. Besides, he's clearly faking it to get attention.
I was going to argue with her more, but the head leader girl brought the epinephrine at that moment. I had to prioritize saving the autistic kid, and this entitled mutant certainly wasn't worth my time. I rushed over to the kid, and the head leader girl handed me the epinephrine. I was about to inject him when out of nowhere, the entitled mother comes out and snatches the syringe out of my hands. What are you doing?
You're drugging the poor boy. I'm here to stop with your drug dealing.
Lady, it's called epinephrine. It's the only thing that could potentially save his life right now.
No, I will not let you drug this boy so you can sell his organs.
Keep in mind this was a family-oriented camping place. So many people, parents and children were watching this entitled mother throw her fit. This was when everyone was asked to leave the dining hall, leaving just some of the cast mentioned in the beginning. Luckily, the head leader girl, with the help from the nice staff who came due to the commotion, was able to snatch the epinephrine back from the entitled mother. I quickly injected the autistic kid who was lying on the floor at this point, and he started to breathe again, and his face began to swell down, and the entitled mother went berserk.
You bunch of criminals! I will make sure all of you rot in jail for drug possession.
One of the staff told her, I have already notified the police and emergency crew. They will be here in a while.
Good. I want to see them getting cuffed.
Police officer 1 and 2 and the emergency crew arrives. The emergency crew member says, alright, where is the one with an allergic attack? I tell him he's the one lying down there. I give him some epinephrine to stop the reaction.
No, you were injecting him with a drug, and that witch helped.
Pointing at the head leader girl. A police officer says, is this true? May I see the container and the syringe that you used? So I hand him over to the police officer, and he takes it to one of the emergency crews to verify it was indeed what I said it was. The other police officer was questioning all the witnesses, and the rest of the emergency crew was checking up on the autistic kid. The entitled mother had that dirty smirk on her face, thinking she had won. The first police officer says, while running some quick diagnostics, we have found it was indeed a form of epinephrine to help with an allergic reaction. The other police officer says, while looking at the entitled mother, you said you tried to save the boy's life by taking the epinephrine out of OP's hand?
No, it was a drug, and yes, I saved the boy's life.
Then the head leader girl says, I also saw OP trying to talk the entitled mother and the entitled kid out of eating peanuts in here, and they ignored his words. The police officer turned to me and asked, and what did you do with the bag of peanuts? It's in a trash bin over there. The other police officer uses latex gloves to grab the peanut bag out of the trash bin. Miss Karen, OP was really trying to save the autistic kid's life here. He did the right thing by taking away the peanuts.
So charge him for the theft and harassment.
Please keep your voice down, and we will not condemn him for doing the right thing. The entitled mother seized with rage, and she actually punched the police officer in the face. Both police officers tackled her, and she was dragged out classic Karen style. Without asking us if we wanted to press charges, the entitled mother was arrested on the spot for child endangerment, since the autistic kid was 16 at the time, false accusations, assaulting an officer, and even resisting arrest. For some reason, the police officer told everyone no one from our organization needed to appear at court, which was a good thing since our place was 2.5 hours away from the campgrounds, and all he needed were the camp staff who were willing to stand as the witnesses. The entitled kid was sent away with the rest of his group. Not really sure what happened to the entitled mother, but the emergency crew said that the autistic kid will be fine. Our leaders and volunteers tried their best to pretend the whole thing never happened and went through the day with scheduled activities, but everyone was on the edge. When we got back, the autistic mom thanked me and told me she was glad I was with the autistic kid. And as much as the head leader girl tried to be a strong leader, I could see that being called names really hurt her feelings. Although the entitled mother was ultimately at fault, I still feel somewhat responsible. I could have grabbed one of the camp staff and counselors to politely ask the entitled mother and kid to leave. Or remember to bring the epinephrine. We are going there again this year, and I certainly hope everything goes smoothly. I work at a car dealership as a receptionist. One of my duties being greeting customers when they enter. I'm a professional artist on the side and I've been busy with some commissions lately, so since it's not busy at the dealer, I started working on my iPad mini. It's old and I'm working on upgrading, but I currently can't afford to. So I live with it despite the battery life being really short, and I have to basically keep it plugged in at all times. During my lunch, I was in the waiting area doing more work when a kid, a little girl no older than 4, came up and watched me work. This happens a lot when I draw in public, and usually the kids just ask a lot of questions. But this nice girl was very quiet and just had a look of amazement, so I just let her be. Her mother, the entitled mother in the story, was nearby at a salesman's desk working on purchasing a new car, which is a long and no doubt boring process. The salesman working with her walked away, which at my dealership they do very often to retrieve paperwork, talk to the sales/finance managers and so on. She looks over at me and her kid and asks her, "What are you looking at?" Her kid points at my screen and says, "She's painting puppies." I was working on Twitch emotes of a streamer's dog. I sort of show my screen to the entitled mother and she then asks her kid if she wants to draw, which the girl excitedly says yes. I expected the entitled mother to pull out a paper and pencils or at least ask if I could get some for her too, but she just looked at me expectantly. When I realized she was waiting for me to hand her my iPad, I said, "Oh, she can't use mine, but I can get her a notepad and pens." But apparently that wasn't good enough. She sighed and says, "Just let her draw a little bit. I'm almost done here anyway," which I knew for a fact wasn't true. They were waiting on bank approval for a loan, which can take anywhere between 5 to 30 minutes. And even then, they will be here longer for finance paperwork, detailing, and so on. I start to explain that this is part of my work and she scoffs, saying I'm just doodling puppies and it was selfish that I wouldn't let her kid doodle on my device too. The poor nice girl was just looking at her hands, looking quite embarrassed. I then pretended my lunch was over and got up to spend the rest of my lunch at my desk. I couldn't see her behind the huge truck on display, but I can hear her grumble to the nice kid about who knows what. Whatever, pretend like I didn't hear so I don't mess up the sale for my co-worker. Sometime later nature called me and I got up to use a restroom. I left my iPad on my seat so it'll stay plugged in and put a notepad over it to try to cover it up somehow. My desk is a white crescent shape with no drawers to keep my things safe, so this was the best I could do to somewhat hide it. I was in the restroom no longer than 3 minutes, but when I got back, only my charger remained. My iPad and Apple Pencil are gone. I looked over to the lady who had her large purse suspiciously in her lap now, instead of on the floor beside her chair like it was before. I was panicked because a lot of my work is on that iPad that I needed. I went to my sales manager and told him the situation. He told me he would take care of it, but to be patient for now. I went back to my desk full of anxiety and my stomach doing backflips. The store manager went to the desk where the entitled mother was to work out the deal. They are far enough that I can hear their voices but not pinpoint what they are saying. But I did hear her eventually yell, "How dare you! I would never steal! Do you want to lose the sale?" I immediately got up and went over behind this lady, so the store manager could see me but she couldn't. He tells her he understands but my iPad went missing and he wants to make sure no one currently in the building has it. And that's when I remembered the Find My feature on all the Apple products. My iPad was connected to the dealer's Wi-Fi, so I pulled out my iPhone and pressed play sound for my iPad. And her purse started dinging. She tried to play it off as it's her ringtone and the store manager stared at her, as if daring her to answer it. Thing is, with the play sound feature, if I keep pressing it, it will keep pinging. I made my presence known and told her to give my iPad back. That's when she stopped playing dumb and just said,
"Just let my kid have it. Her birthday is coming up and I can't afford a present for her since I'm getting this car."
The store manager said he was happy to cancel the deal so she can instead buy a birthday present for her kid and to return my iPad or he will call the police. She practically threw my iPad at me, where it hit me in the gut, and took the nice girl from the waiting area to leave. Poor thing looked at me with the most apologetic look on her face before leaving with her mother. I was gonna let it go after she returned the iPad to me, but after she threw it at me where it really hurt, and later gave me a bruise, I insisted on calling the police and I'm currently going through the procedures of pressing charges. Also, the store manager might have helped me, but he's not exactly the nicest person. From now on, I'm not allowed to bring my iPad to the dealer. I have to either leave it in my car or leave it at home. Whatever. Ages ago, I worked a frontline job at City Hall, registering cars and dogs and collecting money for parking tickets, property taxes and the like. So a basic entry-level municipal finance grunt, bottom of the food chain, nowhere close to being the one making the ordinance or rules, and so on. This was before the days of taking credit cards and debit cards for such payments, before smartphones, before the online banking world really began. Ages ago, paper. The city's ordinance on tax interest stated that interest would accrue daily against any past due tax bill at a rate of blah blah percentage per annum. Property taxes were due quarterly. Many people would come in to pay cash on the tax due date. Many more would remit their payments by checks through the mail. We kept extremely thorough paper records of all payments received through the mail, retaining the remittance stub, the envelope bearing the postmark, which was the date we would use to calculate any interest if it arrived past the due date. If the postmark was before or on the due date, no interest was charged. These were batched daily by each clerk, filed by date in our vault so anyone who needed to could find any receipt/remittance fairly quickly. We needed to often, as did the city auditor. Anyway, business as usual, and the few days following the tax due, we would always get a few stragglers through the mail. The daily interest would have started adding up, not by a lot for most homeowners. This would amount to just a few cents a day. We would send them a receipt in the mail with a note that they have a small balance now due to accrued interest, but we would hold it at the amount for 10 days. Most people would just send another check, some would ignore it, and others would come in to pay in person. Finally, the stars aligned and I got one. A real peach of a gentleman who was extremely disgruntled that he got a bill in the mail for this interest nonsense, which he slapped down on the counter inches from my face. He then slammed a repurposed melatonin bottle full of pennies down on top of the paper and said, "I hope whoever sent me this bill has to count these pennies," at top volume for all the city hall to hear. I could tell already that it was mine. I saw my initials on the receipt when he slapped it down. Cue malicious compliance. I smiled as big as I could, said that I would find out who had processed it, and took his receipt to the vault. I didn't even give him enough time to react. I just got up and went to the vault while cheerfully saying, "It'll be just a minute," before disappearing from his sight. I found the paperwork, including his 2 days late postmarked envelope. Then I sat down at my desk, took the melatonin bottle, looked him in the eye and said, "You're in luck today, sir. I'm the one who sent this balance due to you, so I will be able to count these pennies for you." And I did. I counted all 39 of those pennies, and I counted them one by one, very thoroughly. It took him about 20 minutes to pay his 39 cents from the minute that bottle hit the counter to the end of it. I was extremely pleasant and cordial and smiling at him the entire time. It was just fun at that point, so I kept pouring it on. Just so sweet. His face was practically purple by the end of it, and as he slunk out of the door, without the smug satisfaction he was expecting when he slammed that melatonin bottle on my counter. I said, "Have a great rest of your day. Weather is beautiful." And it was. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.